Submission and leadership. Now, last time we talked about submission and leadership primarily as it pertained to husbands and wives and kind of expanded from there. And today we're talking about self-submission to self-leadership. I'm Pastor Scott Conway at QX Church. Find us online at qxchurch.org. Self-submission and self-leadership. Last time we focused our attention on leadership and submission, mostly from Ephesians 5, the husband-wife context. And we used Jesus' words in Matthew 11 to kind of unpack that, to really take a look at leadership and the kind of leadership we're asking people to submit to, the kind of leadership that maybe we would like to submit to. Because all of us are submitted. All of us are leaders. Very few people are at such a low level of leadership and influence that you literally have no influence on anyone anywhere. Very few of us are in a position in life where there's not someone we can at least make suggestions to with the reasonable expectation that they'll do what we ask them to do. I watch even children talking to their parents, asking for things. I watch kids talking to their siblings, asking for things, giving ideas, trying to have an influence. We all do it. During the course of a person's lifetime, we have influence in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just a single contact, and how that one point of contact might just change a person's mood, change a person's day. With 20,000 people over the arc of our lives. So all of us have influence. All of us have reason to make that influence consistently positive. But there is one person that I wake up with every day, that I go to bed with every night, that I spend every waking moment with, that I spend every sleeping moment with too. I'm just not paying attention at that time. And that's myself. So we're going to be talking about self-leadership and self-submission. The same things, the same principles, but self to self. And how that affects both our leadership side and our submitted side. And how that impacts then how we lead others and how we submit to others. So let's start with the same fundamentals. We'll look at Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And then continuing on, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And essentially all I'm talking about here is the idea that we want to lead the same way we want to be led. And we want to self-lead the same way we expect to lead, and the same way we expect to be led. And we also will want to self-submit the same way we would like someone to submit to our quality leadership, and the same way we submit to the quality leadership of other people. The job of the leader, same principles we talked about last time. One of them is to give rest. Now what this means in the self-leadership context, it means my self-leadership should give me rest. Once I have decided, I've decided. I no longer have to have the internal debate because a choice has been made. I chose. And I embrace the fact that I chose. Now, I may have been conflicted in the choice. I may have had to weigh a lot of things in the decision that I had to make. But once I decide, that's my decision, unless and until something sufficiently important arises that might prompt me to revisit the decision in light of new facts. And then I weigh those new factors, I make my decision, and I just go with my decision. If I make good self-leadership permanent until change decisions, then I don't need to grapple with the question again until something changes. That I can give myself mental rest. I can give myself the opportunity to lay down that mental burden because a choice has already been made. And unless and until I have adequate cause to revisit that choice, not even necessarily change the choice, but cause to revisit that choice, I can lay down that mental burden. I can stop worrying about it. I can stop struggling with it. I can stop grappling with it. And I give myself rest from that mental struggle. Another form of self-rest applies if I'm exceptionally busy or workaholic. I must build in rest. Sometimes we get this idea that I'm going to go, 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 go. And we forget. Building in some downtime is good. Think about the physical metaphor. If I wake up every single day and I hit the gym and I train, I train morning, noon, and night, there's no rest time, there's no recovery time. There's no opportunity for my muscles to recover from what I'm asking them to do. We call that overtraining. And what happens is you begin to break down your body. So if I go to the gym and I lift weights and I push my weight training, I'm trying to build my muscles. You know, my muscles don't actually get bigger from the workout. They get maybe what we might call swole. The fluid goes into the muscles, but the muscles themselves aren't getting bigger until they adapt by recovering from the workout. If I don't build in any recovery time, my performance will go up at first, and then it'll plateau, and then it will begin to slip. And in particular, as a martial artist, if I overtrain, I'm going to start to wear out my knees, I'm going to start to wear out my hips, I'm going to start to create problems in my ankles, and my back, and my shoulders. I need to build in the recovery time. Now that physical metaphor reminds us that's the same thing with life. A lot of people I know, and to be honest, the women that I know sometimes are the most guilty of it, are constantly on go, 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 go. That they're serving their kids, they're serving their husbands, they're doing their full-time job, and they don't have rest, and they slowly start to lose it. And until they have a break where they get rest, it's just going to keep going downhill. Now, when I travel, I like to go to timeshares, I like the condos, I like the kitchen, but one of the problems I've noticed sometimes is that some families head out on vacation, and I see the wife/mother is still doing grocery shopping, is still in the kitchen cooking, is still taking care of the lawn. Basically, all that happened is we took all of the tasks at home, we transported all of her parenting tasks and her wifely tasks to another location, and she's not getting her vacation. She's just getting all of her mother-wife duties in a different location. The location change is not a vacation. She needs a break. And I watch a lot of women over the years, and a lot of the men up in my counseling office, slowly beginning to crumble over the years. They start to forget stuff, is one of the things that bugs them. They get less and less emotionally stable, and part of it is that if you keep that up, there's actual studies that say as you get behind on your sleep, as you get behind on your rest time, and you get behind on your recovery, your IQ literally slips downward. Literally. They test this stuff. And that you can have as much as a 10-point drop in IQ as these things start to accumulate, and the IQ drop begins to accumulate until you find yourself unable to function at what you might even consider normal levels. Much less creative, much less problem solving, much less keeping on top of busy lists. And so sometimes good leadership, self-leadership, is self-rest. Give yourself a break. Not just of not doing anything, but of active rest, where you have designed it for a recovery time. And for those of us who can be workaholics and can end up putting in 14-hour days, 7 days a week over a long arc of time, sometimes we need to build in rest. If I'm leading well, through a difficult time, through a challenging time, through a strenuous time, I will build in rest if I'm a good self-leader. And right now I'm self-leading myself through a difficult time, and it hasn't let up for like 5-6 months now. If anything, the burden has been scaling up. And while that's been happening, I make it a point to build in rest, to build in time I can just shut my brain off and go do something relatively mindless, to go to a movie, to just go for a nice walk, to just go hang out someplace, to go enjoy a nice dinner out. Went out with some friends for some unlimited sushi the other night. That was a nice break. But building in these things so that my brain has a break from just the crush of 6 months of relentless stuff. So the job of a leader, when leading someone submitted to me, is, as part of the deal, to give rest. So if I am my own leader and I want me to submit to my own leadership, I need to make sure that in this process I am giving myself rest. Teach, train, explain. My self-leadership should include learning, practice, experience. I should be seeking insight and understanding, closing my knowledge gaps. Now, I can do this well if I spend some time reading, if I spend some time listening to audios, I spend some time in seminars, I take some classes, I engage in some training. Because in this passage, Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me." Well, if I need to learn from me, one of my challenges is, well, I already know everything I know. So if I'm going to teach myself anything, one of my challenges of teaching myself anything is if I can only teach what I know and I already know what I teach, then I need to be taught. I need to be trained. I need to have things explained to me. And part of the beauty of that is in modern society, that is so readily available. And if I am going to self-lead, I need to keep learning. Leaders are learners. Leaders are lifetime learners. And if I want to be a quality leader for myself, I need to be a quality learner so that I can be a quality leader. If I'm going to be submitted to myself, I need to be learning. Because he who submits is also being taught, is also being trained, is also having things explained. So I spend time watching videos. I spend time listening to audios. I spend time reading books. Now, right now I'm in the middle of an audio program. I finished the first 2 lessons. I've got 9 more lessons in this set to go. I've got 2 more sets on order that are on the way. And when I'm done with the one I'm listening to now, I'll move on to the next one. One of them's a video set, so I'll have to sit down and more attentively watch that. And then I do short reports on it, just to kind of write down some of the key things I've learned. I'm on book number 31 or something like that for the year. Now, 10 of them were in magazines. I count 4 magazines as a book. I finally caught up on my National Geographics and my Smithsonian's and all my martial arts books. So I read 40 of those to kick off the year. And then I've been reading another 20-some books since then. So I'm doing this because if I'm going to be submitted to quality leadership, if I'm going to be a quality leader, I need teaching, training, and explaining. And so I listen, I read, I attend seminars. I do things to continue to learn and improve. Gentle, humble. I should be gentle in my self-leadership, which if I submit well, should be easy. I should be humble with myself, knowing the truth about myself, what I can and cannot do, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, what I can do for myself, what I need what I need upgraded tools to do, what I need help to be able to do well. So Jesus says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart. So I need to be gentle and humble in heart. Now, being gentle, as we recall from last time, think about ballroom leadership. So if I'm on the dance floor with my lady, and I've got my hand on her waist, and I've got her other hand in my hand, am I going to yank her close, pick her up, and drag her around? Am I going to push her and pull her, shove her and yank her? Of course not. Ballroom style leadership is very, very gentle. It's an indicator. It's so light and so subtle that it's hard to see necessarily who's leading. That's how light it is. But it's his job to lead. And one of the keys of the gentleman leading on the dance floor is he's the one who's supposed to watch out for the danger. He's supposed to watch out for where the other couples are, watch out for obstacles, watch out for things on the floor, look for where there's space. And if it's competitive, look for where the judges are, pay attention to the audience. He's supposed to be aware of all of that as he guides the couple along the dance floor. And both of them know their steps, both of them know what they're supposed to do, both of them know kind of generally where they're supposed to go, and it's his job to handle the changes, the unknowns, the chaos, if you will. And so when you're talking about gentle leadership, it's like I take note of things and I make an indication of shifts in direction that are subtle enough that I'm relying on the quality of the submission. Because if I'm dancing with someone who doesn't want to let me lead, either A, I can't lead, or I do end up having to grab her around the waist, pick her up, and drag her around, which kind of spoils the dancing a little bit. So with my self-leadership, it should be the same, because I should be comfortably submitted to my own leadership. I should never be dragging myself, kicking and screaming to something. I should never be griping to myself. I should never be beating myself up. Why? Because I am submitted to myself. After all, if I can't submit to my own leadership, which presumably I agree with, why in the world would I expect anybody else should, much less would? I should be the easiest person for me to lead, but very often I'm the hardest person to lead. And I should be gentle, and I should be able to be gentle. And that humility part, I should be humble with myself. Now, part of humility is know your proper place. Well, who has more right to tell me what to do than me? If I am making good quality leadership decisions, I have every right to tell me what to do. And if I'm making good quality leadership decisions about something I don't know anything about, well, good quality leadership decisions mean that I am making an executive decision as a leader to seek someone else's guidance on that. Now, some of us in this room totally know that because we're trained NLP practitioners, we have mental health professionals. I mean, we have people in the room who are the people go to when they know they don't have the information to make the executive decisions on their own. Business coaches, culture coaches, NLP coaches, where we have all of these tools, all of these techniques, all of this knowledge. Martial arts instructors, kid instructors, adult instructors, karate, jiu-jitsu, kobu-jitsu. Where we are the people go to, if they use quality executive decision making saying, we don't know this material, so we will go to someone who knows the material and can teach the classes, provide the coaching, provide the counseling, give us the advice so that we can then evaluate that for ourselves and we will submit to that which we find quality. That is executive decision making. That's a leader. Leaders will also decide who to go submit to. And then they will go submit. Because that's part of what leaders do. That's how leaders became leaders, is they submitted to quality leadership. That's how come they know so much. They submitted to quality instruction. That's why they're so good at decision making, because they submitted to their own decisions and they learned how to make decisions faster and change their minds slower. And so I need to be humble with myself. I need to know my proper place, know the truth about myself, what I can do and what I can't do, what I do know and what I don't know, what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, where I need new information, where I need upgraded information, where I need updated information, where I need upgraded tools, where I need more systems in place, where I need help. Like in my case, I am not all that organized. Now, people think I'm organized because I'm systematic. But for me, being systematic is not the same as being organized. I mean, I do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. At the same time, I look at this big comprehensive picture. But if you ask me, so where is your copy of your phone bill from 2 months ago? I go, it's in that stack. I do filing by stacks. And so if you want to know where my stuff is, I can drag open a box, and I've got this huge box of stuff, and I'll look at one end of the box and see the date, and look at the other end of the box and see the date, and then, okay, well, any of my papers from between those dates are probably in this box. And only probably, because I'm not that organized. However, in the past, I have had very organized people working for me, where they could go to the filing cabinet and pull out, okay, what bill did you want? The phone bill. Did you want the Suite D phone bill or the Suite E phone bill? Or were you talking about the cell phone bill? Oh, you want the cell phone bill. Okay, the cell phone bill is going to be in this file, and it's in here, file stamped, and it's put in reverse order, starting from the oldest date at the bottom and the youngest date at the top. Which one did you need again? And they could do that. I remember how shocked I was the first time I came in and said, I'm looking for an extension cord. And they're not where I remember them being. And they said, of course not. They're in the storage. Like, well, I was just in the storage. Well, they're in the storage in a box marked extension cord. We have a box marked extension cords? Walk in there. I'm like, hey, we have a box marked extension cords. I opened it up. Guess what was in it? Extension cords. That's what organized people do for me. I don't have that kind of organized person on full-time staff like I have in the past. And I need to know I'm not good at that. Because if I need that, I need to hire that. I need someone else to do that for me. Because I can't do for myself that which I am really not good at. So I need to know what I need. I need to know what kind of help I need. I need to know what kind of upgrades I need. Now, my yoke is easy. My burden light. Easy, simple. My self-leadership should be easy for me to follow. It should be very clear, very clean. It should not place great demands on myself to keep figuring out what I'm supposed to do now. And even when the things I decide to do might be difficult, the long-term plan is to make things easier for me. So like for the last, 5-6 months, I've been, doing some hard stuff. Right now I'm still doing some hard stuff. I've got hard stuff going on, and I've got a lot of other projects going on. And when I decided at the beginning of the year that one of my projects this year was going to be to finish the 4 nearly unfinished manuscripts, which resulted in 5 books rather than 4 books, and 2 more books that have been pending a final edit before they're ready for a physical publication, those 2 got finished. And I found another old manuscript that then I reconfigured and retooled a little bit, and I got that book done as well. And so I ended up with 6 new books, 2 physical books that previously had only been available on Kindle. That was a lot of hard work. But stuff is done. Now I have 35 books. I think that's pretty cool. And so the long game is to make things easier, to have things done, to have things behind me. And now then I can move on to the next thing. Now at the moment I don't have any significant book projects going on. I only have an incidental book project going on of another fiction book. But that's only because on my daily checklist is to do something creative. And I usually will do writing as my creative thing. But I keep it easy. It's easy for me to do my stuff. I've got my checklist. I've got my checklist broken out in small enough pieces so I'm not always figuring out what I'm doing, and I can just grab one item and I can go do that. The longest thing on my individual checklist takes 15 minutes. That's pretty easy to figure out. I'm not sitting down grappling, well, how am I going to organize this? How am I going to structure this? That I break it down so cleanly, so simply, so that on my many pieces checklist, it's very easy, it's very simple. So I should not place great demands on myself to always look at, well, how am I going to do this? When am I going to do this? When am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? It's set up for me that I made the leadership decision to craft an easy-to-follow system so that I'm not always confused when I look at it. And as part of the easy, this part was fun. A friend asked me, how do you motivate yourself? I said, I don't. Well, how do you do it? I said, I just do it. It's easy enough that I can just do it. Sometimes we set this such a big daunting thing for ourselves that we got to whip ourselves up in the state to get ourselves moving to go do it. And that's really common to the point where it's not normal to make it easy. But by making it easy, you can just get up and go do it. The harder it is, the more you gotta get yourself motivated. The harder it is, the more you have to pump yourself up in order to go through it. But if you make it easy, then you don't, and you just get up and do it. And here's one of the things that I do, is I don't actually decide to go do the whole thing. I decide to go do a thing. Now, that means my choice is go do something or go do nothing. The way a lot of people think it's go do everything or go do nothing. And if you're not going to do everything, don't even bother starting. Well, here's the way I do it. I go do something. So now the choice I have to make, and this is an easy choice. Are you going to go do something? Anything. One tiny thing. Or are you going to do absolutely nothing? Well, when you put it that way, it seems kind of silly to not go do something. To not go do at least one thing. And then as you go do your one thing, the next question is, well, so long as you're here anyway, did you want to do anything else? And some stuff gets really easy to do in sets. So right now in my, it's a very light set, so I'm not like doing my strength physique training part. I'm just doing general health. And so I've got the set that I do that's lower back, upper back, chest, and arms. And each of those are separate items on my list. Now sometimes I'll just go do lower back because there's a little bit of a setup for that. Sometimes I might go just do the key breaking, because there's a little bit of a setup for that. But those two do tend to go together anyway, because the setup is almost the same. So it's like, well, so long as I'm doing lower back, I may as well go do the breaking. Well, so long as I've done the breaking in the lower back, I may as well go do the upper back. And so long as I did the upper back, I should do the arms, because I don't even have to change position. I just have to grab the other cord. And so long as I got all of that done, I may as well finish out the set with a chest workout. But what did I have to decide to do? I just had to decide to go do something. I could spend all of 10 seconds doing just one of those things. If something is already set up for me, or close enough to set up, I can say, you know what? I'm on my way, walking past where the boards are anyway. Let me just grab a board while I'm walking the other way, and then let me do my board break. And then I'll put it away later on when I'm going the other way. And it could literally be a 10-second out of my way thing when I'm passing really close to it anyway. Well, then I've got something done. Something is done. It's easy. It's simple. And I just have to decide something as opposed to nothing. And then once I've decided something, then the next question is, so, do I keep going and do something else, or do I stop? Now notice what that does to the decision making. That starts off with, do I go do at least one thing? Or do I go do nothing? Well, it's very simple to decide on one thing, and it's just one thing. And depending upon which one thing I'm taking, it could be a 10-second one thing. And then as I start to knock those out, I could get down to some of my one things where there's not really a way to get it done in less than a minute, and some of them are 5 minutes. The longest one on my checklist is 15 minutes. And you go oh, well, let me knock that out so it's done. And then once you have momentum, once you are in motion, then the next question is, do I stop my momentum? Now the decision, the change, is to decide to change from doing some things to deciding I stop here. And how that completely changes the decision making. It makes it so easy to get stuff done. So my self-leadership should also be simple, which means not complicated. Complication has a lot of steps. And simple leadership is something you can just do. I can just do what's mine to do. It's simple. Now, a lot of this has to do with a principle called chunking. So if I need to go to the gym, and I need to go to the gym to, say I've shifted to a physique phase, I need the free weights, I need the machines, I've got my whole routine all worked out, because I'm working on my physique now. I want to have that beach body ready to go. And I'm thinking, I have to get up, I have to put on my shirt, I have to find some clean underwear, I have to put on my pants, I have to put on my left sock, I have to put on my... I'm tired already. I haven't even gotten dressed yet. Much less then you start doing all of the pieces of gathering my stuff, make sure I've got my workout shorts, make sure I've got my workout shirt, make sure I got a clean towel, and then what if I don't have a clean towel, then I have to go find a clean towel. And you know what, if I haven't remembered to do laundry, maybe I should stop and do laundry before I go work out. And by the time I'm done, I've got this 35-step process to get out the door to go work out. Then someone says, hey, want to go grab a bite to eat? Like, sure, let's go. I say, whoa, wait, hey, why go? So, just got to go to the restaurant. I say, but wait, don't you also have to get up, and you got to put on your pants, and you got to put on your left sock? Because if you chunk it all together, no, you just go. But going to the restaurant's easy, because that ends up being one step. You just go. But going to the workout is 35 steps. So a lot of simplicity is how you chunk it. And so if you can chunk stuff where you make the stuff you choose to do one chunk, you just go do it. And then you make the stuff you shouldn't do a whole bunch of pieces. And then that breaks that out. So my self-leadership should be simple, so it's clean and clear. I chunk it in easy, autopiloted ways to do. Like sometimes when you say, yeah, I just need to get up and get ready to go. Well, that might include getting up, picking your clothes, or all the individual piece of clothes to put on, doing your hair, brushing your teeth, shaving. All of these pieces are part of it. But if I just think about it, you get up and go. Then it seems easy. You just get up and you go. But if I don't want to go, then my brain's go, okay, all this, and I have to shave, and then I have to, and might even break it out. It's I have to check the razor, make sure I got a good razor, I have to find the shave cream, even though it's in the same place it is all the time. Yeah, I gotta get a shave cream, and then and sometimes you get too much, and then you have to spread it out on your fit. And when you start to de-chunk stuff like that, you're making it hard on yourself. So make it simple. Make it simple. And of course, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. So lightly burden yourself. My self-leadership should not be a heavy burden. I should not be martyring myself or making myself a victim. On balance, my leadership should lighten my burden. It should lighten my long-term, big picture mental and emotional burden. So there's this model that I use a lot, and I'll probably have to do a recorded lesson on this because it's really, really powerful. When stuff is going on, you've got three basic roles that people get cast in. For me, the ideal role is that of hero. The hero is the one who makes it better. Then there's the villain. The villain is the one who makes it worse. Then there's the victim. The victim is the one it is made worse for. Now, short version, I'll unpack this in more detail in its own lesson. But if you are the hero, and if you are casting other people in the role of hero, you're saying, look, I want to make this better. And I want you to help me make this better. And I want to collaborate with you to make this better. Some people like to be the victim. Now, it may seem backwards that people like to be the victim, but here's part of the advantages of being the victim. The victim gets to do the woe is me. The victim gets to garner sympathy. The victim, and here's a big one, doesn't have to take responsibility. Because the damage was done to them by someone else, and darn it, that someone else needs to fix it. You need to have sympathy for me. Don't you realize I'm the victim? There's all kinds of secondary gain built into this victim role. Tons. And it's easy to get stuck in. It's easy to get locked into. It's easy to claim that as an identity. Especially when it gets you sympathy. And it gets you out of leadership. It gets you out of responsibility. It gets you out of trouble. It gets you out of every hard thing you might not want to do. And it allows you to go into blame mode, so nothing's my fault anymore. And other people have to do stuff, not me. Because recovering from your own victimhood is hard. It's hard. And then we can use it as the excuse for why we do things that cause damage to other people, not realizing, saying, because I'm a victim, I'm allowed to be a villain. Rather than, because I have been a victim, I take it upon myself to be even more heroic, because I know what it's like. And I am not doing this to anybody. Because I know what it's like to be lied to. And then I make plans on that information. And then it turns out to be false. So I'm going to make sure when I'm talking to other people, I'm clear about what I do know and don't know. Because when those other people tell me what's going on, and they don't know, but they talk like they know, and I make plans based upon what they told me, and I only find out later that not only was it not correct, they had no reason to believe that. They were guessing. But they expressed their guess as a certainty. They gave me dates on the calendar. Now, I'll tell you, my business partner and I are going through a bunch of this crap for months now. Months. It's crazy. But you know what we learned from it? We are not doing this to any of our people. Now, we could say, like, well, it got done to us, so we're allowed to do it to other people. We've been the victim, so now we're going to go be the villain. But instead, we look to this role of hero. How do we make it better? And in particular, here gets to be the thing. If I want a relationship with you and this problem got through you, are you the villain or is the problem the villain? I say the problem's the villain. Why is the problem the villain and not you if this problem exists because you? Because you're the one I want to have help making it better. Why in the world would I tell you you're the bad guy and fight to make you accept the fact you are the bad guy unless my goal is to be the victim? And that's my goal. I want to be the victim. I want to make you the villain. Or is my goal to solve the problem? My goal is to solve the problem. I need to step up from my victimhood and say, okay, something was made worse for me. I will make it better for me, first off. I will be my own hero. And I will recruit you to also be my hero, to also make it better. And then what do we do? Now we have a team of heroes coming together. And when you build a team of heroes, when you build a community of heroes, that's Ohana. Ohana is a community of heroes. A community of people all working to make it better for everyone in the community. And so part of burdening lightly is that I am not going to make myself the victim here. I'm not going to make you the villain. I am going to cast us all in the role of hero. We, collectively, you and me as individuals, are going to work together to make this better. Now note, I'm not going to make someone else have to do it all by themselves. Why? That'd be crazy. Why would that be crazy? It's clinically not true, of course, but what is one of the pop culture definitions of insanity? A pop culture definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Well, we already know that this problem got by you. And I'm going to sit there and say, now, here's my solution. Don't let the problem get by you again. So that thing that already happened, just don't let it happen again. But it already happened. How did it happen? Now, did it happen by this bizarre series of circumstances? Maybe. In which case, maybe we don't have to worry about it. But if this is in some way a chink in your armor, if this is in some way a weakness of yours, like being organized is a weakness of mine, I'm not really good at that. Just like I have people they're great at sales, they're great at marketing. I am not good at that. If I put together marketing material, someone's going to look at it and say, kind of looks like a class outline. So, well, yeah, I'm really good at teaching. It's like, yeah, that method, no. Let's not do it that way. So I need to know what my strengths are. I need to know what my weaknesses are. And someone comes like, Scott, your marketing totally failed. Like, oh, do better. So, well, I'm not good at that. So do you just assign the thing to someone that's not good at it? Or instead, would it be better to say, okay, tell you what, I know marketing, obviously this is a weakness of yours. How about we will collaborate? And so you bring your educational side to it, I'll bring my marketing experience to it, and we'll retool your educational thing for some good educational marketing, but educational marketing is different than teaching a class. It's like, oh, okay, because I need help. I need to work with someone on this. Now, can the marketer do it without me? No, because if they don't know the material, they can't help me make it a marketing version of the material. So we need to collaborate. Same thing with any other problem. If it already got past me into us, now you're going to make me responsible for making sure it doesn't get to us again. Or we can team up. So exactly the same thing, but self to self. If I know I already had this weakness, and this is a gap I want to close, that I don't embrace this as a choice, what am I going to do about it? Am I going to do the same thing that already didn't work? Or am I going to find some other way to do it? So I'm not a martyr, I'm not a victim, I'm being the hero. I'm the one who's going to make it better. Now making it better might require learning some new skills. Back to the train, explain. I might need to go acquire some new tools, some new organization tools, some new software, some new something. It might require an accountability partner, it might require a coach, it might require a professional. That ultimately my leadership decisions I make for myself should lighten my burden, especially the long-term big picture mental and emotional burden. So I'm in my mid-50s now. Turning 54 at my next birthday right now. And if I don't take care of my body, long-term, big picture, I'm going to have some health problems. If I do take good care of myself, long-term, big picture, I'll have a much easier burden. I'll continue to have a boring medical history. But a lot of that is decisions I make now as I look down the road. Now, what's the ideal job of the submitted? Well, the top one is submit to good leadership. So if I self-lead well, And all I have to do is go along with my own decisions. And then here's one of the key things. If I am a good enough leader, I should be submitted to within the realm of my leadership. And if I am a good enough leader and I do not find myself a good enough leader to submit to, why should anyone else submit to my leadership? That's part of my perspective. I model the submission I expect by the submission I give myself and the submission I model that I give to others. God in particular. I model that submission. I model the leadership I expect to me by the leadership I give to myself and the leadership I give to others. It's all the same to me. Leadership is leadership. Submission is submission. And I have a chance to model it self to self. So if I think I'm making good leadership decisions, I just need to go along with my own leadership decisions. Why? Because I made a good leadership decision. I make the decision and you just go with it. Ideal job of the submitted includes to lay down the mental load. So if I self-lead well, I'll be relieved of a great deal of that mental load. I don't have to keep deciding. I don't have to keep wrestling. I don't have to keep grappling with stuff. I already decided. And to lay down the emotional load. If I lead well, I'll be relieved of a great deal of my emotional load because, again, it's already been decided. As the leader, say with anger, I've looked at my rules. I don't have to keep just getting angry. I've looked at my rules. I've changed the rules I've decided were unhealthy. Just like if I'm creating an organization and people are breaking the company rules. I look at the company rules and say, are these rules reasonable? If the rules are reasonable, how do we communicate better with our people to get compliance with these reasonable rules? And in a bell curve of performance, there will always be some failure points. It's just the way it goes. And then we have the rule on rules. Sometimes there'll be a good reason to not submit to a rule, and that's okay too. And we look at this holistic thing. Sometimes like the individual rules that are getting broken aren't actually the issue. It's the fact that there's 200 of them. And people don't even know that it's the rule. But what's the main job of the submitted? Well, just as with being the submitted to another leader or someone submitting to our leadership, going along and releasing the mental load and emotional load depending upon leadership being good. So there's a main job for the quality of submission that requires ongoing evaluation of the leadership. This includes our self-leadership. We can look to see if we do a version of the job of the submitted with ourselves. The pieces include delay, disobey, belay, and countermand. If we don't simply go along with what we think our choices are, what is it we're doing? Are we delaying self-obedience? Do I still do what I decided, I just don't do what I decided on the time frame I decided? So I'm delaying my submission. I'm delaying obedience to the leadership decision. Am I disobeying myself? The disobey, am I abandoning my choices without good reason? Because the rule on rules says unless there's a good reason to do otherwise. If there's a good enough reason given the instruction, that's fine. But you look at, am I abandoning my choices without good reason? Depending upon the measure, the average New Year's resolution can be over in 17 days, depending on what you count as a New Year's resolution. Very few of them survive more than 3 months into the year. Why? Was there a quality decision made to change that goal? Or was it just abandoned? That's disobedience. Because if I go to work for someone and they're my boss and they tell me to do something and I do my job for a couple of weeks and then I just stop doing my job, abandoning my job for no good reason, that's going to be a problem. Do I belay my own instructions? Actually getting others to go along with us not being self-obedient. Do I countermand my own instructions? Let me spend a moment on the belaying. So I have a dietary format I'm using right now as I'm working on my health of liquid days, live days, good days, sad days. The SAD stands for Standard American Diet. So it's not sad as in boo-hoo sad. It's Standard American Diet sad. Standard American Diet means that's a day that I can have junk food. That's a day I can have desserts. That's a day I can have my slice of cheesecake at Cheesecake Factory. I set aside and bank my sad days for special occasions, for dates, for movies when I might want to have popcorn. I'm allowed one sad day a week. I have to have at least one liquid day and at least one live day. And I can have an extra liquid day. So I can have 2 liquid days, or I can have a liquid and a live day. And then the rest of the days have to be good. So a simple thing. If I am going to be disobedient, then that means I'm just going to have my list, but I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to have 4 sad days this week, whatever. Belaying would mean that I will actually get others to go along with me breaking my own commitments to myself. That's like if I'm out on a date or I'm out hanging out with friends and someone says, "Oh, Scott, I didn't realize that you were on a sad date." It's like, well, technically I'm not supposed to be. It's like, oh, well, should we order you something healthier then? It's like, no, just get me the cheesecake. And I'm actually recruiting other people to help me break my commitment to myself. And then that's a belaying problem. And then countermanding is giving instructions different than our choice. That's where I'm not even just ignoring the thing. I am now actively working against my own stated decision. I have a stated goal. It might even have worked out in enough detail that it's a SMART goal. It's specific, measurable, actionable, realistic in time. I may have a solid plan. That plan is a process result plan. If I follow this process, I will get that result of my leading indicators and my lagging indicators. It is based solidly on cause and effect, that these causes and motions should reasonably produce that effect, and I've got that action plan, and I am taking action in a different direction. I'm not doing it. That's countermanding myself. So how am I doing? What am I doing? And then we have partial removal, temporary removal, and permanent removal. Do we tend to not actually follow through on certain types of decisions? That's partial removal. Do we give ourselves permission to not be self-obedient for a period of time? That's temporary removal. And for what level and for what type of reason? Because the rule and rules does apply unless there's a good reason to do otherwise. What type of thing do we keep using as a reason we call good? Do we really just keep making aspirational decisions and we really don't ever follow through on the things that we would like to think we've decided? And that is, if we do stuff like that, that is removing ourselves from leadership on a permanent basis. That I keep saying stuff that sounds good, it's aspirational, sounds great. I get my little endorphin hit because I said all these great things. But, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Or I feel awesome for having said it or shared it. But then we don't follow through. That means that I am not submitting to my own leadership. It might sound great, good leadership call, and if someone had a team and they were the boss and they said it, that would be a great thing for the team to go to work on. But if I keep making aspirational decisions, aspirational calls, aspirational goals, aspirational plans even, and I'm not following through, that means that I have removed myself from leadership. As the submitted, I've looked to my leader self, my submitted self looks to my leader self and says, yeah, I'm not following you. Sounds good, but you are not worthy of being followed. And I'm not following you, and frankly, neither should anybody else. And is that the kind of submitted we want to be to that kind of leadership? And we're doing pretty good leadership. So there's a chance that we have a habit of removing ourselves from leadership. Now, we might start off with what sounds like good decisions. We're just not good at submitting to leadership. Now, it could be that we're not good at submitting to leadership generally, But whatever we're doing, we're not submitting to our self-leadership. So here's a key of self-leadership. Self-leadership, make real decisions. An incision is a cut. And so a decision is of cutting. That means that when you have made a decision, you've chosen this path and you've cut off other paths. To decide. The side is the killing, homicide, the killing, pesticide, killing pests, herbicide, killing plants. To decide is of killing, that you have made a decision, and when you decide, you kill off other alternatives. This is the path. So self-leadership is make real decisions. Actually lead with a real decision, something you can execute on. One of the biggest problems with self-leadership is we don't make actual decisions. We don't set actual goals. We don't have actual plans. And we don't take much, if any, real action. If so, that's a leadership issue. Leaders lead, so self-lead. Make real decisions. Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic in time. Set real goals. Have a plan to achieve those goals and then take real action. Do you have a specific goal? Is there a way to measure it? And the measurements will also be somewhat specific. So like I have a specific goal. I had hit 238 pounds by the end of last year. I decided, okay, first target, get down to 198 pounds. As measured by this one particular scale. Because according to one scale, I have touched the bottom weight of 199. I'm almost there. But according to the other scale, I'm 194 already. So I just switched scales. I could lose 5 pounds walking down the hall. Pick the scale that I like. Well, no, it's as measured by this particular scale. How will you actually make the determination you have achieved this goal? How do you measure that? And actionable, what can be done to produce the result? Not what can happen. What can happen is that it's the out there stuff. What can I do that is a cause set in motion that will produce the effect of that goal? And is it realistic? So I will have lost 40 pounds in 6 months. That's reasonable. But what if I was 238 pounds today and I said, oh, you know, I'm going to Las Vegas in 2 weeks. And I want to lose 40 pounds in 2 weeks. That wouldn't be very realistic, not in any kind of a healthy way. And so it needs to be realistic, something that can be done based upon the resources you have, including the resources of time. And it has to be timed. What's the deadline? What's the process? What's the check-in points? When are you going to look? So you set real goals, have a plan to achieve those goals, take real action. And we might get lost in this aspirational living, which is the seeking and or receiving credit for an aspiration rather than actually setting a goal, crafting a plan, and taking action, because it's an easy endorphin hit. I start talking about these like cool, lofty goals, these things I want to do for people or with people, and I cast it as a goal, and I get credit for it. So like there's this thing I would like to do with some lady friends of mine. I would like to take them to Hollywood. I would like to do the Walk of Stars with them. I would like to take them to Universal Studios. Now notice I say I would like. Because I can't plan it yet. I don't have the resources to plan it yet. And so it's an aspiration. But it's phrased as an aspiration. This is something I would like to do. This is something I think everyone would probably enjoy if we get to do it. Now, if on the other hand, I talk to the ladies and say, oh, you know what I'm going to do? We're going to Hollywood. Let's plan it. Let's put it together. This is what we're doing. Okay, now I'm talking about an aspiration as a goal. If they start to make plans on that, say, oh, well, I was going to go to Hollywood with my fiancé, but since we know we have this girl trip planned, I won't go with, and now she's missing Hollywood with her fiancé because she's waiting for the girl group to go. And then what if the girl's night out or the girl's weekend out never materializes? I cost her a Hollywood trip with her fiancé. And so we have to be aware of how we express what we express, and that there's a context for it. Now, if people understand the context, like as between, I have two different friends that we have, what we know are aspirational conversations because of the context we've created. But we also know that if we flip it and we had the exact same conversation outside without the context, it sounds like we're setting goals and we're telling people what will happen, when as between us, we know it's contingent upon things. And so we have to be aware of stuff like that. That easy endorphin hit, the credit for talking about stuff, the credit for the idea, the credit for the thought, that's easy, but it's not leadership. Leadership means you are leading, so take a look and upgrade as necessary. Self-leadership is powerful, practical, principled, and positive. Self-leadership is powerful, meaning you actually get the stuff done. If you self-lead and you submit to that self-leadership, stuff gets done, stuff happens. It's practical in that the way you do it is a good way to do it on an ongoing basis, and it's principled and it functions on some higher values, some higher level rules that then can guide you in other things. And a big one is it's positive, so that you're not always getting down on yourself. Man, sometimes people get down on themselves. So Jesus said to love your neighbor as yourself. And over the course of years, from time to time, I've told someone, thank you for disobeying Jesus. Which occasionally shocks a Christian person when I tell them, thank you for disobeying Jesus. Because I tell them, I see the way you love yourself sometimes, and I would just as soon you didn't love me that way. I like the way you love me. I don't like the way you love my friend necessarily, and I would wish you would love your friend the same way you love me, because you're pretty nice to me. You don't seem like you're always very nice to yourself. So that's the positive part. Self-leadership is positive. Self-leadership employs the copper, silver, gold, and platinum rules. The copper rule is the think it through, and this one's huge. You gotta think it through. What's the big picture? What's the unintended consequences? I was just having a conversation about unintended consequences. About how sometimes we get so focused on the right here, right now, this moment, what I think, what I feel, what's in my mind, that I don't realize that if I take action on this moment here, I'm destroying that bigger thing there. I might win this fight, but I'm going to lose the war. I might make my point with my boss, but I lost my job. I might win my argument with my wife, but I lost my wife. I might win my point with my friend, but I lost my friend. I might have shown my client that my client was wrong. We didn't make the mistake. The client was being an idiot. And darn it, I proved my point. It's not doing business with me anymore, but I proved my point. Might have a business partner. Proved my point. Won the argument. Don't have a business partner anymore. Watch a $4 million company get split in half because they had to win the point. Won the point. Lost the business. Lost the partner. Won the point. Lost the general manager. Had a general manage his own business. Now he has to be there every hour they're open because he has no manager. And so again and again we get in these places where if we don't think it through, we don't think big picture, we don't think long term, we don't think the grand agenda, and we get caught in the moment's agenda, we're violating the copper rule, and we will often pay a price for that. Now, every once in a while, we have people who are dependent enough or codependent enough that we can break the copper rule and keep them. Dependent enough meaning that they don't have an alternative. That there is no plan B for them. And that works until they find a plan B. So in some of the work projects I'm involved in, there were some people in the mix that weren't doing their job. And they didn't care. They were going to get to it when they got to it. They were going to do it when they did it. They were going to do it their way on their schedule. And darn it, these people are just going to have to live with it because where else are they going to go? Well, that worked for a while until guess what happened? They found someplace else they could go. And now all of a sudden, the lucrative opportunity is gone. It is leaving them for somewhere else. Sometimes people treat their friends that way, their family that way, because, well, you can't stop being my brother. You're my brother. We're related. It's like, well, yeah, but being related doesn't mean we have to have a relationship. Relationship is based on relating, not being related. And I can decide, I'm only going to see you at family functions. I am not going to go out of my way to keep having a relationship with you because we may have grown up with the same parents, but you are not acting very brotherly. And I do not have to put up with toxic just because I'm related to toxic. And we see the same thing as between husbands and wives, parents and kids, where there's toxic involved in the relationship, and they feel like, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? Well, that only works until there's something else they can do, and someplace else they can go. And the only other hope for the bad leader violating the copper rule is that the other person is codependent and broken enough that they will stay anyway. The silver, gold, and platinum rules are all closely related. The golden rule we all know, treat others the way you want to be treated. The platinum rule is treat others the way others want to be treated. So like, I might love to have donuts in the morning if I want a morning treat, but if my friend's allergic to gluten, then she gets gluten-free bagels in the morning. So bringing donuts, that's golden rule. I would like donuts, I bring donuts. Platinum rule is, but I know you need the gluten-free bagel, so I bring gluten-free bagels for you. That's platinum rule. Because the goal is do something nice, and if the donuts aren't nice for you, then I do what is nice for you. So that's platinum rule. I adjust and adapt to what the other person likes in accordance with what the actual agenda is. If the agenda here is do something nice, then what's nice to the person? If the agenda is give a reward, then what is rewarding to the other person? One of the places that I illustrated this is the software engineer was given a position on this high-level board within the larger organization. Why? Because the CEO who gave it to him thought, this is really prestigious, and people fight for this position, and it was supposed to be a reward, but for the guy, you were taking him out of his office. He liked being in his little office doing his thing. He didn't like being in this stuff. So to him, it felt like a penalty, even though it was meant as a reward. Or I was chatting with my friend who doesn't like hot and humid. And so if as a reward, I take him someplace hot and humid, he's going to think, geez, I thought Scott liked me. I'm going, I like you, isn't this awesome? He's like, no, man, I'm miserable. It's hot and humid. I have some friends I'll be taking to Las Vegas. At least it's not humid, but boy, will it be hot. And they don't do hot very well. They just like to stay in their car. I get them a nice one-bedroom condo with a full kitchen. For them, their greatest respite is just let us stay in the condo and chill in the air conditioning. Well, me and some of the other people I go to Las Vegas with, we like to go see all the sights, and we're on the move, and we're doing stuff. And if we get a 5-mile day in, walking around seeing sights, that was a great day. And for other people, that would be miserable. If I dragged them around on that, they'd think I hated them. So that's platinum rule. Silver rule, the gold version of the silver rule is don't do to people what you wouldn't want done to you. The platinum version of the silver rule is don't do to people what the people you're doing it to don't like. And so, one of the things sometimes when we're talking about like all the stuff going on with the Me Too movement and sexual harassment related issues and whatnot, and some of the concerns around that. One young lady leveled a crime-based accusation when she was mad. And she's shocked that it ended the relationship. Well, it's because the guy's going, it's like, look, I know you were mad, and you've asked for forgiveness, but what I learned from you is when you get mad at me, you will accuse me of stuff. And if you get mad enough at me to accuse me of stuff in the presence of a police officer, I'm in jail. until they figure out that I didn't do anything. I have a temporary restraining order to keep me out of my own home if you do that while you're at my home. I'm not taking that chance. Oh, I was just mad, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said it. Yeah, but you did. That's too dangerous in this day and age. 20 years ago, you tell them, oh, yeah, I was mad, I didn't mean it, it's not true. 20 years ago, you could do that. Now, the police will take them away anyway. I don't want to go to jail. And so that changes the dynamic. So that's a platinum version of the silver rule because that's idiosyncratic to the time, the place, and the person. And there's certain things that I don't put up with. It's my boundary. Now, other people might be fine with it. I am not fine with it. Like, I do not put up with being treated like a villain. I do not put up with punitive behavior. Those are core rules of my... Now, do other people put up with punitive behavior? All the freaking time. I don't. And so there's all these processes. That's idiosyncratic. So the platinum version of the silver rule is you don't cross my boundaries. The ordinary silver rule is you don't cross what your reasonable boundaries are with other people. Self-leadership is leadership. And self-submission is submission. We are discovering how good a leader we are with ourselves. We are discovering how good a submitter we are with ourselves. We are modeling how worthy we are of being submitted to in our own estimation based upon how well we submit to ourselves. We are modeling how we expect to be led by how we lead ourselves. Now, here's one of the things. Of all principles must be consistently applied. That's one of my core principles. That's one of our core principles as a church. All principles must be consistently applied. That means the way I lead and the way I want to be led and the way I self-lead should all work on exactly the same principles. It's not one set of principles when it comes to me and a different set of principles when it comes from me. That is fundamentally selfish. Because what I'm basically saying is I want what I want, the way I want it, when I want it, how I want it. I don't care about anybody else. The principles aren't the principles. The principles are lofty sounding expressions of me. I just get what I want because I feel like it. All principles must be consistently applied means the leadership I will submit to should mirror the leadership that I do. And the leadership of myself should reflect both of those. So the way I wish to be led is the way I lead me and the way I lead others. The submission I expect from others should be reflected in the submission that I give to others. And the submission I give to myself. Because again, all principles must be consistently applied. Those should work on the same principles. And in this process, we are learning where we might have to self-evaluate before leading and before following. So if you think about wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Self, submit to yourself as to the Lord. Self, love yourself as Christ loves you. You have an internal relationship with yourself that mirrors the external relationships. You lead you as Christ leads you. You lead others as Christ leads. You submit to Christ-like leadership. You submit to you to the extent you're doing good leadership. Just as you would like someone else to submit to you when you're doing good leadership. Just as you would submit to someone else if you respect their leadership. And so you just start to look at all these submission and leadership things as just self to self. Do you submit to yourself as to Christ? If not, why not? Do you lead yourself as Christ leads? Are you the head of yourself as Christ is the head of the church? So if we go one step past, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. People, love yourselves as Christ loved the church. You love you. All you have to do that is just agree with God. God says, I love you. And you go, okay, I'll go along with that. After all, you're God. You would know. If you think I'm lovable enough for you to love, I'm just going to agree with you. And I'm going to walk in that agreement. Like, and gave himself for her. Like, oh, what does it mean for me to give myself for me? What does it mean for me to lay down my life for me? What does it mean for me to lay down my suke, my psyche, my will, my mind, and my emotions for myself? Motivated by that love, driven by that love. That means I need to lay down my emotions in light of love. I need to lay down my thinking in light of love, and I need to make leadership decisions in the will. Will over mind over emotions, the suke, the psyche, the soul. And self-lead and self-submit as a model for all of your leadership and all of your submission. The leadership that comes to you and the leadership that comes from you, the submission that you offer and the submission that you ask. All wrapped up and modeled in your self-leadership and your self-submission. Done Jesus' way. Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And if I say that me to me, I come to myself when I am weary and heavy laden, and I give myself rest. I take my yoke upon me and I learn, and I be gentle and humble in heart. And I find rest for my soul. I give myself a yoke that is easy. I give myself a burden that is light. I lead as Jesus led. And I submit as Jesus submitted. Our ultimate example in Jesus Christ himself of self-leadership and self-submission.